I had a very personal conversation with my mother last night about my relationship with my father. And for those who have been around for years, and I've spoken about this and told stories about him. My father, he's not a bad person, but the stories, you can tell he's very neurotic. What I was saying to my mom was that the past few years have been such a growing period and a complete change in my life where I don't have the tolerance for his personality or behaviors anymore. And I was trying to say it in a way where I didn't want to sound like I'm too good to be around him now. Like, because I make good and reliable friends now. I'm making good money now. I'm not sad and destructive anymore. Because I fell for this ego trap many years ago where I stepped into a new state of consciousness that made me feel like I was spiritually above others by default. I entered this state of mind where I suddenly felt like I was pursuing better things in life and I was more aware of things going on in the world, where at the same time, that fed my ego. And a lot of people I see are experiencing this now, where like they become woke or enlightened, right? Or they enter a new state of consciousness where they feel almost holier, spiritually awakened, a new purpose in life, right? And because of this, their internal monologue and their subconscious and ego starts making them feel like other people are sleeping or NPCs or somehow themselves, they are superior to them in some form of way. They'll be like, oh, this is when someone says this specific thing, I immediately know this person is on that same thing I'm like talking about right now. Some people be like, that person is low vibrational. All right. You know what that means? When someone says, oh, that person is that person is vibrating very low for me, as if and insinuating they're a very high vibrational being. It's the spiritual ego I'm talking about. And I went through that phase many years ago because of a very important moment that happened in my life that made me question my existence and life itself. And it set me on a new path in life. It gave me a new purpose in life. And then suddenly I felt like at that time I was too good for certain people or situations. So when I was talking to my mom, I was explaining my lack of tolerance for his behavior and personality. And again, I didn't want to sound like I was too good to be around my dad. Because after experiencing the spiritual ego situation I went through and having entered another new state of consciousness and a healthier space in my life this past year specifically, I understand now that, look, what I understand now versus why I didn't understand years ago was that everyone is subject to ignorance. Who isn't? Everyone is ignorant. The first person who says they're not ignorant or they're not subject to ignorance because of their, spirituality, their faith, their intellectualism, the current status of their life, they always are the first person to fall victim because of their ignorant behavior. We can't act like we don't have blind spots. I'm not an NPC. I'm not brainwashed. I'm not part of the masses. Look at the masses. Yeah, I'm not no NPC like these people. Then people who be saying that, they say that, right? Then proceed to be doing stuff that is NPC like, brainwashed, and part of the masses. But they got no self-awareness for it. Ironically saying this, then constantly falling victim to NPC and brainwashed behavior. Strange, huh? Remember that Socrates said, I know that I know nothing. Meaning, the person who assumes they are ignorant of many things always keeps their eyes open for new things to understand. They rarely find themselves victims of ignorance because they expect ignorant situations to happen. They anticipate it, so they're prepared for it. But the person who assumes they are fully informed about a subject or life in general, or they're a wise person, right? Someone told me that recently. Like, someone told me their life is in a terrible situation right now, right? It's shambles right now. And they said that, I'm a very wise person. I said, I know about the things that they told me, the recent decisions that they made and things in the past, I really disagree, but this is what I'm talking about. I wonder why the people who act like they're fully informed about life and they have the wisdom and they're very smart, they're the ones who end up in catastrophes. So what I realized with what I was saying to my mom is that I've dealt with my father so much that I don't feel like I'm above him I don't feel like I'm above being a son. I don't feel that way, or I'm too good for him now. What I feel is caution. I anticipate because I've had experiences with him constantly where I'm in such a good mental space and he will do something that reverts me to my old ways. And I don't want to fall victim to this again. So, hey, mom, I don't want to be around my father anymore. The negativity I've experienced, how I felt unheard numerous times, how I constantly forgave him and it was misused and taken advantage of. I kept falling victim to this because I kept acting like I knew the outcome of the situation or I had control over myself or the situation. Or, I'm in such a better mental space now and my life is doing great. I'm almost invincible. I'm more tough now. My skin is thicker. That my father's negative behavior won't affect me. Well, there it is, y'all. That's my ego. There's my pride right there. You know what's funny? It sounds ironic, right? My pride made me forgive somebody. My pride let me continue to talk to somebody. My pride and my ego, because I felt like I was such a better mental space, I'm almost invincible in the sense, or someone can't like drag me down. I felt like that. My pride was telling me, hey, you know what? I'm okay. I'll let this person around again. Seems like forgiving somebody and doing this and that seems like the opposite of pride, but see how crazy pride is. What I understand now is that humility. I know that I know nothing. Let me use an analogy here. I know that someone, like my father in this situation, I know that someone is flammable and I need to stay away from the flame. But what I did in my past was that I assumed I can walk through the flames. So this is why I'm like, hey, mom, I'm not going to be around my father anymore. He's still my father. I love him, but I need to stay away from something flammable. I need to not let my pride get in the way and I need to admit, despite my growth as a person, despite the things that have changed in my life, all the positives, I am still human and I could be dragged right back down if I'm not careful. I'm not above him, but I'm not ready to handle him without breaking, without falling apart, without getting angry again, without getting hurt again, without these negative experiences. Protecting your peace is not about looking down on someone. It's about protecting your asset, which is your mind. Realize, and what I learned is that you cannot save or fix someone's behavior or a relationship because all you'll do is that you'll lose your progress. This is what I'm saying, you shouldn't be acting like you're above somebody, but you should be, I'm not ready to handle this person without losing my progress in life, losing the progress I made. And take that how you will. I feel like anyone listening, you should take that with you too. It's a very valuable lesson I learned. Don't lose your progress because of someone else, of something else. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube.